somebody's being diagnosed. In Ghana, it is very troubling because every year about 3,052 women are newly diagnosed. Sadly, these are diagnosed rather late, you see, and more than half of them just die the same year. So, averagely, about 4 women lose their lives daily in Ghana from cervical cancer.
My next question will be to ask you if there are known causes of this. What causes it? But before then, I'd like to remind our listeners that we have the weight loss challenge, which is happening on the Cosmopolitan Mix ongoing. So this morning, there's a screening session going on at the Labadi Beach Hotel for everybody who wants to actively participate in the weight loss challenge. As for a month, there are lots of activities, on the grounds. You have a dietitian, you have a physical coach, or how do they call them, like a trainer. You have, everything in place to ensure that, within a month, you kick your metabolism into, trying to get some weight loss. But this morning, before all that, Medicas Hospital is helping us to, screen the participants, just so we don't have any casualties as we go along. So if you're part of it, or if you're now hearing me, no problem, you can go there and get yourself registered, go through the medical screening, and let's be sure that you're fit. Even if you can't, run around and train, there are coaches there who will tell you what you should do, especially so for those of us who really, 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 really need to cut down our weight. You should seize the opportunity, and the screening is free. So we'd like you to go there now. It's happening this morning at 6:30, so it started, and they're on till 8 a.m. That's an announcement for you. Thank you. Yes, Doc, before I come to Seth and Gladys to find out their experiences with this, tell me, are there known causes?
Yeah, so medical science has identified that this cancer, which is a real threat to womanhood and of course, for that matter, humanity, because you can imagine, typically women who were older were the ones who tend to suffer cancers. But lately we see cervical cancer in women in the mid-30s, and they come in rather late. All that can be done is, we say it's inoperable. Surgery can be of limited value, and so palliation help them ease pain, help them control anemia, and then we lose them. And you can imagine, so children become orphaned, society loses motherless children. The future is ruined for good from cervical cancer, and it's deeply troubling because this can be prevented. We know that in about 99.7% of cases, cervical cancer is caused by a tiny virus, which is called the human papilloma virus. I'm allowed to say that one, am I right?
Yes. The HPV.
Or the HPV, yeah. And HPV is chiefly sexually transmitted. And so those are where the potential gains are for mitigating even the occurrence.
So it simply means that if you're a woman and you're sexually active, you are like what? At
risk.
You're at risk.
Yeah, that's it. But your risk goes higher if the woman has multiple sexual partners. Or if a woman's partner has had multiple sexual partners. I know. I know. So we jokingly used to say, so if you're the woman, ask your partner or your current partner who has been your previous partner.
That one too, if you don't take care, your family will break down.
Of course.
Because you may not have disclosed before marriage, or even whilst you're dating, you won't disclose, and then you're going to ask this one, which is important.
For declaration.
No, but that is serious.
It is. And so if we're able to control that high risk sexual behavior, we will make some gains.
Which is, that's an argument that can go on and on and on, because this decision may not be solely dependent on the woman.
Of course.
You could, a woman could decide that I want to have only one sexual partner, and that is it.
Yeah.
How sure are you that your partner has only you? So whatever it is still risky.
It's still risky. The risk is there and real.
Yes.
you know. And so chiefly that virus is transmitted sexually. And there are various subtypes, nearly 120 different types of the virus. So some cause non-cancerous problems, like what we call genital warts. You know, this wart is like a growth typically around the vulva, the external birth genitalia, the vulva, what you see of the vagina outside. Starts usually like grains of sand, and then it can get bigger and it may look like a little portion of brown broccoli. You can imagine. So it's getting
Broccoli
bigger.
that's drying off.
And it's getting bigger and it itches. So that is called genital warts. It tells us that, okay, this woman has a type of the HPV. Fortunately, that is the non-cancerous type.
Okay.
But to the clinician, that is a lead. We need to follow this woman up quite closely, because if you've been exposed to that one, who
Others
knows?
could follow.
Exactly. You may have been exposed to the other ones, which will not show any physical things externally for
that.
us to see. Okay, okay. So we see that, and then, but there's two are notorious types, type 16 and 18, just for the purposes of educating us. They are the chief culprits when it comes to cervical cancer.
I see.
So, quite apart from that, if you have that infection and you don't do regular screening, because you can a woman can have this infection for 10 to 15 years, no symptoms, no knowledge.
You're fine.
You're fine. You're apparently fine, but the virus is causing trouble in the cervix.
And you don't feel anything
You
within
don't
the
feel
period?
anything. No, you don't feel anything. No pain. No nothing.
But
See?
why?
Because it is very microscopic, and this cervix has various layers: the outer one, the middle one, the inner tissue. So it's a gradual thing, which is what gives us the window of opportunity that should we screen you every 2 to 3 years, we are likely to pick up some early pre-cancer changes,
And then,
and then we
start
intervene.
treatment.
Okay, and that's basically
And
what
the
it is.
interventions are usually successful.
Yes, they are.
They are.
Cervical cancer is about the only cancer that you can cure. You see, we can cure other cancers. We talk about managing, helping manage. We cure it. If it's a little part of the cervix which is involved initially, a little bit of surgery to remove just that portion, we're good. Sometimes we do a bit of freezing so that we stop further progression.
Can't it recur?
Hardly.
Hardly does it recur.
Once we get it early, you see. And so we lose the window of opportunity because of lack of regular screening. That's the thing. That's the thing.
Doc, I will come back to you, but let me speak to Gladys. Mommy,
Hi.
sorry, have to be taking you back.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also to just, I mean, I'd like my listeners to also know that this is not to cause any alarm or to scare people. Like you wake up on a Saturday morning and we're talking about deadly stuff. These things destroy families. You know, the beautiful family you're building could just break down like that because of this. And when you, I mean, I'm sure when you're looking after a family member who has cancer, you can imagine the strain it causes on everything: finances, your time, your energy. You even lose the love because you're always very stressed, you know. And so it's important that once in a while, when we get the opportunity, we talk about these things to create awareness, so that once this one, for instance, is very preventable, why don't we take the opportunity, get screened, and then save ourselves and our families and, you know, the people who love and care about us from all this stress. Gladys,
Hi.
how many years has it been with your experience?
Since 2001. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at
Okay.
about what, 19 years.
So it'll be more because she passed on 19 years ago.
19 years ago, wow. Okay, what happened? And we're talking about, you know, her late mom. She passed on from cervical cancer. What happened?
I remember vaguely. One afternoon, she comes back from town, goes to use the washroom, and she comes back complaining. "Me name is shishime, me kwadwo nso ye, me name is shishime," You know, I remember that very well. And
So what she has pains in her legs.
yes,
The feet.
the
Her
feet,
feet.
the
Oh,
feet,
okay.
yes,
All
the
the way
soul,
down.
the soul,
Yeah.
All the way down.
yes, and it was both legs,
Wow.
and
Until then, there were no complaints at all.
no, I hadn't heard her complain. My mom was the type who would bear the pain. She wouldn't really talk about it. So, yes, that was. I remember that's where it started from, and so it led on to how she was feeling. She had to go and see the doctor. She was referred to see a gynae, and that's how it started. When it started, I had finished BC.
I'm just trying to like get the connection, and maybe Doc will explain. You go to pass urine, and you're not feeling pains in your
No.
Your abdomen.
your abdomen, or and the pain is like under
You know,
your
it's
feet.
like burning, some burning sensation.
Sensation.
Yes, some burning sensation.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I had finished BC then. So I remember, when she was going to the hospital, she would take me along with her, like, accompany her too. So we spent it was in and out, but of course, yes, people.
So that led to regular visits to the hospital.
At that time, it wasn't regular.
Okay.
But I remember whenever she was going, because I was home, I would
Okay,
accompany her
okay.
to go. So that's how come I remember some of those moments. Fast forward, it got to the point where she had to go through the surgery. And it was a difficult decision for her because she's not the modern day woman who understands that surgery is not a big deal. Those days, surgery was a big
Oh,
deal.
what's a big deal?
Yes,
Even
so
today, it's still a very big deal.
well, it depends on which surgery you're going through, though.
I mean, there are some people for as long as
The word
surgery.
surgery.
Yeah.
Operation.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, it wasn't a difficult thing. It was a difficult moment for her, but she went through the first surgery, and then after I'll just be snappy with
Yeah.
it because details will take us the whole day. So yes, she did the first surgery and she recovered. She was doing well.
But she had been diagnosed of cervical cancer.
At that time, I didn't know.
Okay.
But I knew she had gone through the surgery for whatever reason. She had fibroid too, so she had gone through, and it was like she's taking care of it. So life got back to normal. She was doing okay until at I think about how many years later, then she complained of itching on the scar of the surgery, and then I remember I saw. It looked like blisters. It grew to look like blisters, and it was painful. So she had to go back. And when she went back, that was when I became familiar with what exactly was happening to her. Because that was when she had to go through a second surgery because there had been a relapse. And so that was when I was open to what exactly the situation was. Because she started complaining, hey, I didn't be this sickness, they say, when you go through an operation for the second time, you will barely make it. And she had apparently experienced stories of people who had gone through and did not make it. And so it was a tough moment for her. She kept repeating those statements, hey, Rade, that kind of thing. And so, yes, at that point, that was when it became a regular visit to the hospital. Because she would go, she had to be prepared for the second surgery. And I think at that time, she had to be oriented to accept the second time because I'm sure medically they also knew what was at stake. But the clear picture, I don't know if she was given the clear picture, but I just go accompany her and I was just privy to a few moments that she would talk about it that I get to hear. And so that was it. So she had to go through the second surgery. She did. She survived. She came back home. Not long after, that was when the real crisis started. So I remember my mom will be in pain. She'll be practically wailing. because she's in pain. Along the way, she started experiencing feet swelling. Not feet swelling, leg swelling, because her calf down to her feet would all swell. And it started from one leg and then the other leg also. So this active, energetic woman who can go about her normal duties and do everything now had been slowed down. And I believe it was very painful moments for her, because aside the physical and the pain that she was going through, the mental torture that my energy is gone.
Waning.
I cannot do the normal things I used to do anymore. I can't walk the distance. I am not by myself. It was,
You're always dependent on people.
yes, you know. And there were times that you actually had to force her to know what you could do to help her. And I mean, I witnessed her go through severe pain. All I could do was stand by her and say, "Mama, day ma." And you know, that's all you could do. You can't endure the pain with her. You can just watch and try to sympathize, try to comfort. But of course, when you're in pain, comfort is really, really relative here. So that was it. So eventually she had to go back to the hospital. This is how she went back to the hospital. So we had gone for review. And I remember we had finished practically. So we're supposed to be going. She was going to say hello to a friend within the hospital premise. And then we leave. Now, on our way back, she had gone to say, on our way back, then she said, I saw her walking. The walking wasn't normal. I mean, it was like she was going off. Yeah. So I said, "Ma'am, should I hold your hand?" Then she said, "Oh, I'm okay." It's like I'm dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw that she was still not.
Just staggering.
Yeah. So with just like so quickly, she was going off. She was falling off. So I screamed, "Ma, ma!" So I held her, but then I was also going along with her. So I "Ma, sit down." There was like the 12th wall, so sit down. I asked her to sit, and she held onto a pillar and then sat. At that time, I think I panicked. So I knew my way about a bit within the hospital premise, and so fortunately, we knew a few people there. So one familiar person had come, and so I quickly ran to get a wheelchair. My mom is the type who doesn't want to draw attention to herself, and so it was even difficult to get her to sit in the wheelchair. It had to take a lot of conviction from the friend, because she wanted to walk. We should just hold her hand. Even holding her hand, I should just hold her hand, so it's not so obvious that she needs help.
Wow.
But well, eventually she sat in the wheelchair because
She couldn't.
she just couldn't, and that was the start. That was the last time she was out of the house.
Wow.
She never went back home. So that's how it's from years along the way. Her gynae started swerving her. He would say, "I am coming," and he never showed up.
Oh.
So, and I remember she would call, and he would tell her, "Hey, I'll come," but it all didn't really ring in it. If it's today, I am so sure I'll understand what was happening. By that time, we just felt the doctor was just busy with other things and could not visit her. And she believed the doctor knew what was wrong. No,
her.
she believed the doctor knew what was wrong with her and could offer help. So she kept calling him
But she was
on phone within the same hospital. Yes,
He never came around.
he never came. He did a few initially after the surgery, yes, but at the time when she was taken in fully, he never showed up. Wow. He never showed up. Fast forward, along the way, yes, she was receiving care and all. Then I remember my brother spoke about with my dad. I'm in discussion. So at that time I was young, and so it's what I hear. I couldn't really ask questions exactly what is happening, that kind of thing, but what I witnessed. So I remember along the way, while she was in the hospital, somebody had to sign her death warrant. And my father could not be bold to sign, so gave my brother the go ahead to do so.
What does that mean?
Apparently, she was going through chemo. That's the term I remember. She was going through chemo, and somebody had consent
Okay.
that whatever
Whatever
happens,
okay.
we agreed that this should happen.
Okay.
But of course, we called
Consent.
there for it. So,
Okay.
so my brother signed. My brother was a nurse then within the same hospital that she was housed. So my brother signed the consent form.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was made to understand that what she was going to go through was either going to speed up her death, or speed up her healing. That's what I remember. So that's how come the consent had to be signed.
Yeah.
So that it's a 50-50.
But usually, I think the consent form is always signed when you have to go through some form of surgery, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, at that
Some
time.
surgery
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
some major treatment.
Treatment.
Yeah.
You have to sign it.
Yes, but at that time it was death warrant.
That's right.
I guess also
Crude.
because of, very crude.
Yeah.
Because of what she was going through.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was no form of orientation to make me. I don't know if my brother, because he was a medical attendant, understood
What was happening?
I don't know if my father was taking through any psychological exercise to understand the real situation on hand. But me, who took care of her because I was home then, I wasn't
lost.
given. I was lost. I was just following through
With
happenings.
instructions and doing what you
Exactly.
had to do.
Yes. So she went through the chemo, and indeed it sped up her death.
Oh.
So now I remember she had the swollen legs now were darkened, and it was kind of growing up her upper body as well. And so when you touch her body hurts.
Oh.
So in her latter days she was almost like bedridden. She couldn't really get down to do anything by herself, so she had to be helped.
Oh.
And one Tuesday I was getting her food ready. Then my brother had come home, so stands and he's watching me prepare the food. Already the food I was preparing, I was weeping. It wasn't the regular normal food I would give my mom. So I was mashing the yam. She wanted MPC, but she can't eat it the way it was, so I had to mash it for her.
I'm sorry.
So whilst getting it ready, my brother comes to stand behind me, and then he goes like, "Gladdy, why are you pan? I mean, shroud." Then okay, I did not talk. My head was still down, mashing the yam. Then he says, my two elder siblings call him sister. So he says, "Sister, Yarian, basically, baby, I do sister's sickness, where it is now, her current condition, except God. We've done everything humanly possible to save the situation, but at the point we are now, it's only God. So let's keep praying." I didn't say anything because before he came in, I was like already weeping because I had seen what was happening. So it was like a confirmation for me that really she was going to go. Interestingly, I had this would I say a stubborn hope that she was just sick and she was going to get well. And so I had seen it happening because they had taken off all transfusion, they had suspended her drugs, so she was just there. And so I remember I had that stubborn hope that she'll make it. till he gave her food. That morning I go there twice a day. I practically spent my whole day with her because so this started after BC, and this moment I have gotten to is after SSC.
Okay.
That's the duration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it means when I was in SS, she was fine. So the crisis actually happened when I was back home again.
Again.
Yeah. So I remember that Tuesday morning when I went there at dawn, I said, "Ma, you haven't really enjoyed any bath in a long while. You let me give you the bed one." And then we laughed over it and said, "Now become your baby." And we laughed, but I did. Apparently, that was the last time I was giving her a treat like that. My mom loved powder, so I remember when I finished cleaning her up in bed that day when I was turning her, it was difficult because every part I held was painful. It hurt her, and she responded according to the pain. And so at the point when I was trying to get her turned and clean her back, she screamed. I mean, it was painful. And that was when the nurse's attention were drawn. So the one is, what are you doing? Won't you call us? And then we both said, oh, we are fine. Because I didn't want to draw the attention of everybody that she's in pain. She was enduring. Yeah. So I remember one lady, Vivian, she didn't leave me, so she came to help for us to finish cleaning her up. And then said, if you want to do any such thing, call me. I said, okay. So yeah, I'd given her a bath. Later in the day, I go back with her food and she eats. I mean, that week I had been weeping within. She eats whatever goes in, whatever fluid goes in, comes out undigested. So if you give her, she takes malt, it comes out as malt. Yeah. And then again, there was something I observed. When it comes out, much as you see that this is what she took in, it had a very strong pungent scent. Very strong. So, yes, I did that mental processing. Is she going? But my stubborn hope held me on. And so I had the strength by her whenever I was talking to her. I remember, yes, we'll share jokes when I have seen her going. I just didn't want to accept it. Fast forward, the Wednesday afternoon, I go and I meet my dad. I actually stayed there with her. So I had gone to get her something. When I came back, I met my dad, my cousin, my brother. They were by her and they were talking. Then she asked that my dad prays for her. Then my dad passed on the prayer to my cousin, who is a reverend minister. So before the prayer started, she was going. I could see. So I started talking to her, saying the things that she enjoys. We share jokes a lot. So sharing jokes, she would laugh. But along the way, then she would say something, she would just mutter something. And it was obvious, it wasn't clear language. Then I'll ask her, Ma, what did you say? Then she'll say, hey, then she'll come back and then talk to you normal. So, I mean, it was difficult. And much as I was holding on to my cry, I was choking. And when the tears were coming, I would deliberately do something just so she doesn't see me. So I'll go and get something fixed and then quickly wipe and come back. But I was around her bed till I couldn't hold it anymore. So I just needed somewhere to bring it
Let it
out
out.
and come back to her. So I ran to the washroom, and
By the time you came back, she was gone.
oh well, it didn't happen. I met my sister and my cousin's wife, and they were crying in there. That was confirmation that whatever I witnessed, that I was hoping would not be true, was going to be true. So, yeah. We all stopped crying. We finished crying and came back, cleaned our faces, and came back with normal faces, pretending that
Everything was okay.
everything was okay. So the prayer started, and it was the first longest prayers I had experienced in my childhood. I was so angry because the prayer was seeing her off. That's how I'd put it.
Oh,
Whilst we were quiet and praying, she was going. So I refused to close my eyes for the prayer. I held her hand, and each time I saw her just like it looked like she was dozing off, but her eyes were open. I would shake her, ma. Then she would be talking, but it wasn't clear language. Then I would still be shaking her. Then when she, hey, you, Ugsoha, you're still here. But she had been talking to me. Then sometimes, so I was holding her hand. I never left her hand. And when they were praying, I mean, you have prayer warriors and Reverend Minister praying, they will concentrate. But I was holding and kept shaking and kept calling her back. Fast forward. Yes, so we finished the prayers. I remember my dad assuring her that Adwa, live for me. See, money is not a problem. If it's money, add this to what you have. You should be fine. Just live for me. I remember my dad telling her that. Yes, we left. That Wednesday evening, I called. It was Thursday. That Thursday evening, I called my siblings. They were outside Accra. My two sisters were outside Accra. So I called, especially the one in Cape Coast. I couldn't call her, so I called the husband and told him that at this point she should come. And then he panicked because they hear she's doing fine today, she's well today, she's responding well. So I mean, it was sudden for them. I remember I told him that at the point I doubt if they'll come and meet her, and that if she met her, it was the grace, and she wasn't going to die. Like, she would die very, very old, because at that point it is God. And my younger brother then was also getting ready to write his BC, so we kept it away from him. And you know, at that time, he was, because he was young, he couldn't go to the hospital, so he only relied on reports we bring him. So that was the first time the reality dawned on him.
so up until this point, how much longer did she stay?
She lived 52 years.
No, I mean from, after the prayers, you calling your sister.
Oh, just how many hours? Because when we left there, this Thursday night, I was making the calls. Per what the hospital
But the Wednesday
recorded.
after the prayers, she was
The prayers is actually the Thursday. The Thursday was the prayers.
and she passed on that Thursday
That Thursday night,
when all of you had left.
when we all had left. My brother was the last person.
Who saw her?
He didn't get home, but they didn't call him because his colleagues felt he was tired. So it was the Friday dawn. We went there earlier than usual,
And she wasn't there.
and she wasn't there.
Sorry. I have been trying to be strong. I think that. So, like, all this while, it had been diagnosed that she had cervical cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you make me, my mind's just been wandering, you know. And for those of us who have had some of these experiences at our, you know, young ages, my mother passed before I turned 15 years. I have said that several times. And my mind is not going back when you were, you know, talking. I remember my brothers, I mean, when I grew up, I asked, what happened, you know? And they would tell you that, oh, she had cancer and all. I remember very well. I mean, that's how come I remember, like, Gandhi ward in 37. You know, yeah.
Gandhi.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't like me going to see her. Till date, I am not sure what form of cancer. My brothers ever told me it was cancer of the womb or something like that. I am not sure which one, you know. Now you're making me very curious to even want to go probe further to find out exactly what. Because I mean, I remember how my mother shrunk, you know.
She did too.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't like me going to the hospital because I hear every opportunity, like her last one, every opportunity she gets that she could talk, she will ask that I am brought. So they didn't like taking me there. But there was once that I was taken there, and when I saw her, I didn't believe that was my mom.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it because the tubes and everything that, and no, this couldn't be her. And I had to go and ask my brother, is that Mama?
Your mom,
And
yeah.
then he would say, why you're not recognizing her? I said, that can't be her.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I had this back and forth with my brother, and he was like, then I went to look at her, and then I went to hold her. She couldn't talk, she couldn't hold me, she was just there. And I was very broken. But we went through that phase. Some way, somehow, she got well. She was better, and then she came back home. And I mean, she was okay. Somehow, she was okay. And yeah, if you've ever witnessed a loved one pass, because like you, I stood by her bed. I was there with my brother and a family doctor, and we watched her go. Like, we stood by her bed at home, and we watched her go. That's how close experience you have had with this thing. And I was told that she had cancer of the womb or something like that. I'm not sure they even know what they were talking about. You know, this is Gladys, I'm sorry I had to take you back, but this is just so we know how dire these things can be, and for us all to take it serious.
Exactly.
And especially so this one that has, like, you know, treatment. This one that has treatment. It means that, okay, there's some breath here. You only have to try, as a woman, the way we love ourselves and take ourselves to the salon, do our hair, take care of our nails, get our we're going shopping, where we want to lose weight because we want to wear very sexy clothes and all that. You should love yourself like that, to say that every year should be part of your goals, or every 2 years you want to go get screened. Not to say that yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody, had a meeting, and the person said, men, we don't like going to the hospital. Why? Because you're going to look for trouble that is not there. That's the mentality about going to the hospital. I'm coming to do medical examination. I mean, at the beginning of the year, you just want to go and find trouble for yourself, the trouble that does not exist. But I mean, once we don't know, you're not very sure when this can occur, which of the HPVs can, whether you are the 16 or the 18 you are talking about, when they are setting, and your only thing is that go get screened. And if it is picked early, we won't go through all of these. Why not? Bra Kwame.
Them.
Health analyst.
This is
I
so
remember
touching.
the day he woke up and he on the platform that we have a joy community, and then he went like, I will beg all my sisters and every lady here to try and go and get screened, because I mean, this thing can be deadly, and you can stay for as long, it can be in you for as long as 20-30 years. And then I mean, it generated a whole lot of conversation. I'm like, okay, this man is going somewhere with this thing. What has the experience been like for you? Oh, too bad we don't have a lot of time.
I've been working on this, and I have a documentary coming up on Monday on that. I've been working on it
showing on Monday.
Yeah, with Joy FM 8 a.m. then Joy News TV and 8:30 p.m.
Monday will air it at 8 a.m.
Yeah, here.
Okay. So that's during the SMS.
SMS, yes.
Right.
And I started working on this over a year ago. Yeah, and I'm happy somebody like Gladys has been able to share her story, because we still stigmatize against people with this kind of condition.
Okay, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah,
why
the stigma is
that?
so high because because we judge them.
Ah.
So people do not even want to share their stories. People do not even want you to know they have this condition. Is the reason some of the patient or most of the patients
That's
report
what it
late.
is, because of your sins, or God has.
Yeah, and some
forsaken
don't even believe it's medical condition.
Oh,
They think it's
they are
spiritual.
both.
So there is this woman I featured in the documentary. She has been, listen very well, for the past 2 years she has been bleeding non-stop for 2 years now, and she's 70 years old. So she's anemic. She moves with a pack of pad. So she changes herself 6 times in a day. And her condition is at the advanced stage, and she comes to hospital and they tell, oh, come back next week. I think the doctors know where she's got into. There's nothing. Yeah, palliative care has been given, chemotherapy and everything, but now the doctors appear to have given up, and this woman doesn't even know she's gradually going. There's this woman I also featured. She and her husband, they've been farmers for some time. They've had big cocoa farms, large cocoa farms. They had to sell everything. And when it started, for 5 years, they were moving from one traditional healer to the other, from one church to the other. By the time they got to hospital, it was late. Sadly, you get to know a few weeks after I interviewed her, she passed on. Yeah, so these
But
stories
you
are
featured
real.
her.
Yes, these stories are real. These are real, and
these are just like these ones you can count.
Yeah.
Looking at the figures and the numbers Doc was mentioning.
And there's another one we will see in the documentary. She's on admission now. She had relapsed. She's only 45 years, and her wish was to have access to the media. So when I got there, it was like God has answered my prayers. I've been praying that God send someone to this place so I speak, because what I'm going through, I don't want any woman to experience it. So these things are real.
And it is like, once you're a woman, and especially so sexually active, you're at risk.
Yeah, you are. So these are the typical things the women go through, and unfortunately, because they come up so late, it's so advanced, and so they go through. It's just like what is in the textbook, what Gladys narrated. You see, something brings her to the hospital, and then we detect it, and then it's advancing. So it begins to spread. It gets to your kidney, it gets to your liver, your feet or your legs get swollen. You lose a lot of weight. They can't eat. Appetite is low. Your body can't handle the food. It gets to the lungs. You can't breathe well, and then gradually. But I must say, 19 years ago and now, there's been a lot of changes in what we call end of life management and palliation. So it came up quite strongly that her late mom did not get that
Palliative care.
Yes, but then Kwame has gone through some of the procedures with us, and he could tell we now have palliative care teams, so that once
I
we
hate that word.
But it's important.
it's important.
I hate it.
It's important.
I hate it. I
Yeah.
mean, once you get there, you know that they're just preparing you. I mean, they're trying to make your transition very.
But it's
easy
better.
for you.
It's better to prepare your mind and that of your
Mind
family.
and the family
Yeah, the
especially.
Like
family.
being put in hospice.
Well, but this one, in the hospital setting, the care team visits with you. They discuss with you what should expect, and then it helps you to cope a lot better. And so your
Knowing
children,
that there is no recovery.
exactly, and so the
That's
children.
the one I don't like.
Yeah, but it's better.
And that is
better.
why people would rather just sit home and die.
No, it's better when
I know. It's just a painful. Like once you get there, you know that that's it.
Yeah, so that also helps the children and family to cope better. And
Yeah.
of course, when family is around before a loved one passes, it helps
You
the
to get some closure.
better, So the main issue is we detecting these things.
Early.
Yes, you know. But once it comes that late, the woman is weak economically, can't do anything. And these are the economically viable age groups we're talking about. See,
Yeah, 45, like you're saying.
45.
Yeah.
You know, so then the family, the children are left.
I know.
You know, so we are saying that it is caused by this, but the risk is higher if you, for instance, if your immunity is low, you're not able to mount a defense for your body. For instance, somebody who has HIV or uncontrolled diabetes because they're not taking their medication, somebody who smokes, and then we also say people who have a lot more children beyond 5. These we have realized have become risk factors.
I see.
You know, and then a few others. But a woman who has cervical cancer, one of the symptoms that should bring her is a very offensive vaginal discharge. You know, for some it can be so bad that when she steps in here, of course, with my trained nose, I'll be able to tell that, oh yeah, that bad. Or a woman bleeds abnormally. It could be during her menses, but is bleeding more excessively. Either the bleed is a lot heavier or lasting for longer. Or the woman has her period, expecting the next one, and she's bleeding in between. It's not normal. Or the woman sees bleeding after every sexual intercourse, because basically the cervix is sick. So anytime something touches it, it bleeds. Or you come to the hospital, we do a vaginal examination. Because it touches the cervix, it bleeds. These are warning signs. And the other common one is what we call post-menopausal bleeding. You have attained the age 48, 49, 50, 55. Your menstruation has stopped
Yet.
for a year and over. There's no reason to see bleeding. So the woman sees bleeding and thinks, oh, there's some old blood in my system that's coming out, so I'm happy. No. It's an indicative of either cancer of the cervix or the inside of the womb. We call the endometrium. So it's sad that somebody would carry on with that bleeding for
2 years.
Yeah.
You see, so all of that would bring the woman, and so we can institute some intervention. At least when we detect it, then we talk about what we call a number of years of survival. Then we're able to deal with it fast if chemo will come in. Now, some people will require chemotherapy because the cancer has spread. So the chemo would work better if we started it earlier. But by the time it is so advanced, we still want to see to what extent we can suppress it. And that is how come you need to concern that, yes, I want to go through chemo. I know my hair is going to fall off. I'm going to feel awful. My nails are going to turn dark. I'm going to be vomiting and having diarrhea. But
it's all in a bid to help.
Yes. And some people do okay on it.
better.
They get better. They recover. The hair grows back. They get back and have some good quality of life before. Okay, so chemo per se is not a bad thing. It's just all the situation around it, because we tend to delay it because we come in rather too late.
Oh, Jesus. Let me get some messages. Good morning, Adam. My name is Nana Jones Q, and I'm a listener of Joy FM since, yeah. Thank God for your 25 years. Great service. Thank you for being an ardent listener. You have been a great blessing to the nation. Yes, that's Joy FM and the Multimedia Group. God bless you. And kudos to all of you, from Mr. Chum to the least in the team. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you for being here. But for you, we don't have a business. So thank you. Okay, there's a message I saw that I saw a message. Okay, yeah. I couldn't hold back my tears listening to Gladys this morning. A very, very sad and a pathetic experience. Good morning, Adam. Good morning. Yes, especially so at that young age. She's grown through it. She's strong, but anytime you have to make her talk about it, you should see her. It's like she's watching a movie, like, you know, you're visualizing something and you just keep going. But Gladys, sorry I keep doing this to you, but for God and country. I hate to say this. Yeah, nobody wants anybody to go through any such experience, but there surely is a reason why some of these things, you know, today, this story you have shared, I believe will save a lot.
Yeah.
Will make a lot of people say, okay, if this one is curable, if it is found early, why am I sitting down and waiting?
Let me tell you, I met this lady.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed when she was 4 months pregnant. But because she reported early, they were able to manage the pregnancy until the until the 9th month, and they successfully brought out the baby and also did the surgery for her, and she's getting
fine.
better. Yes.
Hey,
Yes. In pregnancy, yeah.
Yeah. So because we don't have a system of systematic screening, so every opportunity we get and we suspect, we screen, and so you could detect it during pregnancy. If it's not too late, we can handle till you deliver, and then we deal with it.
And is it like, can you be screened anywhere, any hospital
Yes,
that has?
any hospital, especially where
And you can
have
just
a,
walk in and request.
Yeah, walk in.
It
I want to
shouldn't
do
be
my
at the
pap
request of
smear.
a doctor.
No, walking. I want to have a pap smear.
Okay.
So that's the whole drive. So get a pap smear done. We also have another one we call VIA, where we put a little bit of a chemical on the cervix, see how the color changes, then tells us there's a problem here, there's nothing here, and then that triggers the alarm. If that level of hospital is not able to, or clinic is not able to manage you further, they refer you to the next higher level.
I'd like to chip this in. Once I decided to join any advocacy group that is campaigning against cervical cancer, I've experienced that a lot of the women do not either know about it, or few who know about it too. It's expensive to do pap smear. And so if we can have organizations step in to help, it
The
would be
conversation we were having this morning, that we'll see what we can do to help, or to get organizations to help us do some screenings, you know, even if not like fully free, very subsidized ones,
Yeah.
so that people can, you
So
know,
this month,
have this
some
done.
of the centers are offering subsidized costs.
Okay.
They should do it free too.
But ultimately, our society, the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, is on this drive to see to what extent we can have, for instance, the National Health Insurance provide coverage for the screening of cervical cancer.
Okay.
You know, and then of course its treatment. And so it's part of the build-up. And then we hope and pray that they will take it on board.
And you should look out for the campaign. Like, we're going to go very hard on it. I am, you know, an ambassador, and I'm happy to be. So you'll see my artworks flying about. We can eliminate pain, suffering, and needless death from cervical cancer through vaccination, regular screening for early detection and treatment. So get screened. And so I think that, Doc, you should rope Gladys in immediately,
Of course,
so
yeah.
that we can together spread the word
we have
and
to.
bring ourselves together and make sure that, I mean, if this is preventable, honestly don't see why we should. This is needless pain. Let me quickly
pain,
cross
suffering.
over to Labadi Beach Hotel, where the weight loss, you know, challenge screening is going on this morning. Hi, good morning, team Weight Loss Challenge.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
Hey. Dr. Asafo, good morning.
Good morning, Adam, and good morning to my very good friend and senior Promise Sefuga.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Asafo is the medical
Love me.
director
Love me.
That's
for
right.
the Medicars Hospital, and they're fully on board helping us with the weight loss challenge this morning. It's one of the
Yes.
ways that we're trying to keep our nation healthy. And Doc, what's happening quickly?
Right. So, Adam, you as you mentioned, the weight loss challenge is an initiative by the Cosmopolitan Mix, and the whole idea is to get people healthy and draw attention to the problem of overweight and obesity, which globally is attaining pandemic proportions. So we have started this initiative. We're going to try to get people motivated enough to adapt what we call a therapeutic lifestyle change. So we have a dietary component to this initiative. So Nuhu is our registered dietitian who will be helping all those who are registered with proper dietary advice. So how to lose that excess fat accumulation. We also have the certified fitness trainer who is also going to help us with different range of exercises to also help us burn a lot of the calories that's taking. Today at the Labadi Beach Hotel, is a screening session for the weight loss challenge. We want people to start exercising, but do that in a very safe way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes people start to exercise, they go skipping, jogging, and then they may collapse or suffer some injuries. So we want to make sure that everybody is healthy enough to start the various activities that have been planned. So that is what we have started this morning at the Labadi Beach Hotel. And we would encourage all those who have registered with us on the WhatsApp platform. And when we launched it on Thursday, before I left the studio, we are close to 300 people on the WhatsApp platform.
I am there.
Yes, so Adam, I'll be expecting you.
Yes, I will be there.
After the show. So that is what is currently ongoing at the Labadi Beach Hotel.
All right, great. Thank you. We wish you the very best. Hopefully, I will try and pass by this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Regards to the team. And
all right, yes.
And the chief coordinator, Philip Nye.
Philip Nye, yeah, Philip do a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Adam.
So this morning looks like a very healthy morning for us here on Home Affairs. We've been talking cervical cancer, we've been talking weight loss, and all of these things. I'm sure they all have some linkages here and there, so let's take good care of ourselves. Let's take very good care of ourselves. It's important. Brakwame, again, what time is
So Monday, 8 a.m. on the Super Morning Show,
okay,
and 8:30 p.m. on Joy News TV.
Okay, Joy News TV is
8:30 p.m.
8:30 p.m.
Yes.
Don't miss it. And then on the SMS on Monday,
8
it
a.m.
is 8 a.m. Don't miss it. You want to listen and get inspired and talk to one or two people. Doc, somebody sent a question, but our time is up. I will let you respond. It was asking how people deal with vomiting and during after chemotherapy and all. Yeah, so we'll deal with that. But look out for more of these conversations on Home Affairs. We'll be dropping. They're going to be sending us tips to be dropping for you every week. We're here and throughout the year, so that and it is not just for this month. Any time of the year, you can go and get screened, right?
Yes, get screened any time of the year, provided
Sure.
you're just not in your menses. Go into any facility. If they can't do it, they'll refer you to the next one, called Lebu, Ridge Hospital, at Abraka, Shape Healthcare, at Tebiokoshi, Tema General, 37. Just walk into any polyclinic, private clinic, and get screened.
All right.
That is the way to go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sepuga.
Thank you.
Gladys, God bless you and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And Seth Kwame Watson, God bless you for the good work you're doing for Mother Ghana. My name is Adam Nightstay. Have been supported by Dennis Offer on social media, and then Gladys.
Daniela.
Daniela, may you are my name. Yeah. Thank you all very much for doing the listening. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.